Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Parintam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Muti Beda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dihaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sabhavedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om Ishwara Namaste. Yesterday, no, ninth chapter, we have seen that from the 12th verse onwards, Krishna talks about different types of people. So he was talking before about the nature of Vishwara, the nature of Brahman, the nature of God, sometimes at the Saguna level. But then towards the end, he was highlighting the true nature of Vishwara as Nirguna Atma. And then in this section here, in this passage, Krishna begins talking about the different kind of people. So the people who somehow connect the dots between the way I feel about myself and the world, meaning to say I'm not having a good time, with their thoughts, attitudes, words, and deeds, and more than that, so you have to connect that with the goals you have established in life. If your goals are just materialistic by nature, and if they are many, they are going to pressure you to violate Dharma here and there. And that is going to create even more suffering. You are not going to enjoy your life, and you're going to lose your humanity. This famous compassion and empathy, it disappears from the hearts of the people who violate Dharma over and over and over again until they lose everything. They lose their connection with God. We see it dominate. The people dominating the planet, they are like that, unfortunately. Most of them, there are not only evil people, but most of them. So from the 12th verse, Krishna talks about the different kind of people. Some people have understood and diagnosed the problem. It's so rare to find people who starts find the problem somewhere out there, without realizing that the problem is me, you are the problem, and it's so rare. It requires such a intellectual integrity, honesty. The problem, as we know, is ignorance. And this ignorance begins with the ignorance in respect to the Creator, the Saguna Ishwara. Later on, the problem is partially solved as you start living in harmony with the Creator's laws and principles, meaning the laws, ethic, moral, psychological, karmic, spiritual laws. So in the moment that you understand that you need to live in harmony with the environment and the laws and governing the environment, and then you are already addressing the problem on its most fundamental nature. But then furthermore, Vedanta comes to say, once you have understood Saguna Ishwara, you're going to process so much preparedness and purification, refinement, that you're going to come to the understanding that punya alone, good circumstances, because now I'm not living in conflict with God, you understand that punya alone is still offers some element of limitation. And then you're going to diagnose the problem on an even more profound level, meaning to say, so I need to go beyond this triangle attitude or way or perspective of living my life. I myself, the small, limited, and incomplete Jiva, Ishvara, the creator, the omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, and this dangerous Jagat, you know? So I run to Ishvara to gain protection and security. So the individual grow to understand that there is a higher level of this sickness of samsara, which is preventing the individual to really become or to experience his freedom and independence from Ishvara, Jiva, Jagata altogether. So ignorance on the level of Saguna Ishvara is a huge problem. Ignorance then on the level of Nirguna is still a problem. And the solution is to go into the process by which it's revealed to you that the true nature of reality is Nirguna Brahman, and Nirguna Brahman is one without a second. It is the Nirguna Atma, my very Atma, my very intrinsic nature. Only that knowledge liberates the individual, frees the individual from dependence on Ishvara and Jagata. Once that's clear, so you have a jnananista, a firm, clear knowledge, you have found a remedy, the solution. But for this jnanan to become really clear and firm, qualifications are necessary. And then we have this lack of sadhana, called sadhana chatusaya sampati, often suggested by Swamiji as the Patanjali Yoga Sutras that serves the purpose of development for these qualifications. So you, without having to go there, you just need to understand your relationship with Ishvara and its laws. And then you need to live a life in the spirit and understanding of Karma Yogi. And then you need to do your upasana as well in order to develop one-pointedness, focus, patience, among other benefits derived from upasana. So if that is my course of life, I'm going to come to clarity and certainty in respect to the fundamental problem, and that is going to encourage me to remove that sickness, which is ignorance, and then I will have so much inspiration and motivation that will lead me to freedom from samsara. So, but for that, I need to follow Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. No? So how about just jump to Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana without going through Karma, Dharma, Upasana? That's what most of us do. We were not born in the culture. We are highly influenced by Buddhism, highly, highly, highly. My first guru, he was so highly influenced by Buddhism. During the 70s, he used to utter the word God here, God there, God here. He did not want to upset anybody. And then he had to run from India. And after trying here and there, he settled in Oregon, in a place that later on referred to as Rajneeshpuram. I forgot the name of the town nearby, Antelope or something like that. So once he went there, he took some time of silence. And he said, no, now I don't want to talk because now the connection between me and you guys is through the silence of the heart. You heard that before, huh? So I want to connect with you, through the silence of the heart. So there was no such song, there were no darshan, there were no talks, and and then what happened? Happened that after some time, he basically, some people said that he did that because he did not need this one distraction. Before we used to have two such songs, one in the morning, one in the evening, and he did not want distraction because it was enormous amount of money and energy to build that Rajneeshpuram city. So he needed everybody working. So the seat came about, and then later on he said, now I'm going to complete my work, my painting. Yeah? I'm going to tell the truth. And then he started hammering. So I was talking about God before, but there is no God at all. Okay. So the same lineage of Buddhism, there is no God. So for us, Westerners, highly influenced by Buddhism, and then people who were associated with the books and the words of Osho Rajneesh were further misled by this concept that there is no God. God is just imagination, projection of human mind. I remember it was something so devastating that the entire community of thousands of people were just in a total emotional turmoil with that single. Uh, and then we thought, it's good. He's destroying those religious concepts that there is a God and this, and he's destroying all of that. There is only samadhi and there is only meditation, there is only enlightenment, but there is no question of God. So I'm just saying that to illustrate the fact that most of us come to Vedanta and then we are introduced to the teachings, Shravanam, Manana, and Nididhyasana, and then we don't want to hear about God and our relationship and a certain devotional attitude, reverence, love, appreciation, devotion. We don't want to hear about that because the Western society has become a little bit allergic to the concept of God, the Creator. Uh, but for those fortunate born in India, or those fortunate that somehow, like me and you, we found a way into the Hindu Vedic culture, and we start integrating the the knowledge, in respect to the Creator. you know. So for those of us, we can somehow, after have been doing Shravana Mana Nididhyasa, Shravana Mana, okay, so there is something missing here. I need to listen to the talks in regards to God, the Creator, and then we go, we just step back a little bit, we go into Kama Yoga, Dhamma, and all of this, and so on. But Krishna said that there are some people who are luck enough, there is no simply luck like that. They have done some association with scriptures and revealing the nature of Saguna gods to begin with, and then when they hear about the concept of God, its laws, the Dharma, and the way we need to live to avoid conflict and pain and suffering, people immediately they get attracted. Okay, so I say yes, I want to understand more about God. And in the West, people they have a certain concept about God, but it's a more infantile. Even when it's a concept about God, not according to Christianity, but according to Hinduism, but yet it's most like uh, not Vishvarupa and much less Nirguna Brahman, but it is a God with a name and the form and a certain attribute. Ekkarupa. Yeah? So you need to come to Vedanta to be introduced to the more fundamental, profound aspects of this creator, such as the intelligent cause, the material cause, the energetic cause, the universe manifests as God, and then you have a totally different perspective and vision, understanding about the creator that is going to somehow take care of the ego. Otherwise, the ego grows, and the egos, they start challenging God, competing with God, and in the end, arrogance and vanity takes over. There are many people groping darkness, such as what I just mentioned. They do not know what they want. No, they want, things of this world, and they never connect the dots between their action, their gains. Successful people, they have gains, but they're still miserable. They never connect. I don't know. Sometimes I believe that these people, we see it nowadays, the people who really control the world, all these agencies governed by people who are not elected by the people, individuals. That's the way they have been setting up the new world order, people that they are not subject to election, and they control everything. It comes from the financial powerhouse, And these people, I always think about that the other day. I think, is it possible that they experience suffering, emotional suffering? I was questioning. I mean, could it be that they don't have that experience? Because the emotional body has to be smashed, suppressed, frozen in such a way that you lose empathy and compassion towards other people who are suffering. But somehow you lose connection with your subtle body, your emotional body. You don't even realize that you are suffering. It could be, huh? It could be no sensitivity whatsoever. They don't know what they want. They want peace, they want love, they want compassion, empathy for life, respect for life. They think that power, money, prestige, and becoming a trillionaire will be the ultimate happiness. They are going to be really satisfied. Then they go about replace one goal with another one. So I already, brought someone who has accumulated so much wealth that he's now a multi-billionaire, and the soul gets destroyed, but the person loses sensitivity and empathy, maybe even towards oneself. They are confused people. They are unlucky people, unfortunate people. We have seen it in the previous verse, or verse 12, he says. The last one. And why they are confused? Because they don't really analyze and think things properly and clearly. So Viveka was somehow destroyed, or maybe something even more than Viveka, because some of these people may have such a huge intellect, very smart and so on, but their hearts is dominated by the evil, and therefore they don't have connection with God. They don't know what's love, compassion, and empathy anymore. So in Katha Upanishad, we say that the body is compared to a chariot, sense organs are compared to the horse, mind is compared to the reins, and the intellect is compared to the driver, on a horse person. Now, our body, this illustration of the chariot of Arjuna being driven by Lord Krishna. Yeah? So the chariot is the entire body-mind complex, let's say the body, physical body. The sense organs, the horse. Yeah? But the horse, the sense organs are going to drive us through life, and if we don't really have viveka to regulate this drive, it's going to drive us to self-destruction. You understand? So the horse, the mind is compared to the reins. So all the reins put together is the mind. The mind is that which is integrating, coordinating the 10 reins. Which are the 10 reins? The 5 perceptive organs and the 5 actions, organs of action. So you have 10 reins there. The mind is that which control and direct and integrate it all. No? And the driver is the intellect. We hope to have enough viveka to be able to control these 10 organs, actions and reception. And so that we have a fit and refined body, mind, sense complex to move into self-knowledge and moksha. A journey will be the right direction if the driver has this knowledge. No? Similarly, my intellect has got clear understanding, things will be clear. So value again, I need to come to the highest possible human pursuit. No? I forgot the name of pursuit in Sanskrit. The 5, they say, secure the 4 human pursuits is in Sanskrit.
Purushas, no?
Again?
Did they say the 4 Purushas?
Purushas.
Is it?
Purushas, yeah.
I'm not sure.
I'm
that
thinking,
came to my mind.
yeah, I'm thinking sadhana chatushtaya.
No, Purushas. Purushas are the 5, the 4, usually security, pleasures, and then dharma and moksha. Those are the 4 human pursuits, human purushas. Yeah, I remember now. So a journey will be in the right direction if the driver has get in contact with this knowledge, has processed it, contemplated, and established this knowledge as good knowledge. So Arjuna was not having a clear discriminating mind. Therefore, he went and he chose Krishna to guide his body, mind, sense complex. So if we have got, and this is the symbol of the guru, helping the disciples to drive through life, standing on this perspective of knowledge. If we have scriptural guidance, the scriptures, we'll get this right knowledge and we're going to move into the direction that produce happiness and freedom. But most people do not come to the scriptures and therefore they remain attached with wrong knowledge or bad knowledge, mistaken knowledge, believing it is good knowledge. Those ideas are going to produce what? Wrong desires, as we've seen yesterday, and wrong actions. Not that it's right or wrong. They are going to produce wrong knowledge or mistaken knowledge, aviveka knowledge. Defect knowledge is going to produce desires that are going to further destroy our discrimination because they are going to create more conflict, more papa. And those desires are going to create actions that likewise is going to produce more papa, more conflict and more pain. So Swami reminds us that yesterday he was saying that this course of life, from the standpoint of the human jivas, it takes three stages. The first is we get in contact with things of this world and we start figuring out what is what. We get some knowledge. So scientific knowledge is always subject to error and revision. Spiritual concepts even more subject to error and revision, and most people do not want to revise them because once it is integrated in one personality, we say, no, 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 no. So you have got an understanding about your goal. If you have good desires, good values, good desires, good thoughts, good actions, and that is going to direct you towards the accomplishment of your goal. So what is the ultimate goal? Moksha, self-knowledge and moksha. Who wants it? Almost nobody. Because most people do not have that level of viveka, that level of wisdom. They did not connect the dots correctly, properly, so that they can diagnose the problem. The problem is not about doing this or doing that, gaining this or gaining that. The problem is ignorance in respect to the true nature or the apparent nature / true nature of God. So we need to have this knowledge Shakti, Isha Shakti and Kriya Shakti. Knowledge begins, desire comes, and then actions, they have to be aligned so that we don't get crazy, Suppose you just say like, no, this is my knowledge, that's what I want to accomplish. And then the desire does not follows it properly because you have a pressure of a lot of contradictory desires. You try to build through this knowledge a certain desire, but there are values and desires from things of the world putting pressure there. So that is a stage that I experienced in my life that I used to tell to some people that it's almost like as if I am schizophrenic. I want moksha, I want self-knowledge, but my actions are not really conforming to my knowledge, and my thoughts, which are going to ignite my actions, my desires, So, but if everything is aligned, and if the mind was relatively purified, and then the result is certain. Hridayaranika Upanishad beautifully presents these confused people. Krishna says they have wrong knowledge, wrong desire, wrong effort, and therefore their life is a mess because they get wrong results. What to do? That friend of mine I mentioned yesterday, he wrote to me. I wrote something strong to him yesterday morning, and then the evening he was still like, hey, yes, so I appreciate so much. I listen so careful, but. It's too hard to admit. To surrender to the scriptures requires an enormous degree of intellectual integrity and honesty. And throw away all the garbage that I have swallowed as good knowledge requires courage as well. So therefore, those people who do not have enough viveka, enough integrity, they are more rajasic, tamasic. They have some sattva guna, but it's not enough to see things clearly. These people, overpowered by rajaguna and tamaguna, are called vichettasaha, aviveki naha. So vichettasaha means those people who do not have enough discriminating power. So sattva guna was suppressed by excess of rajaguna and tamaguna. The problem is we are all viveks at the beginning. We are all indiscriminate people. We are all conditioned by this cosmic powerful ignorance. The scriptures have come to assist us, but because of our huge ignorance, ignorance always brings about pride and arrogance, vanity. It's always. Okay? So if you are ignorant in respect to true wisdom, spiritual wisdom, even scientific knowledge, you take some wrong scientific knowledge to be your knowledge, you are going to fight back against every other scientific that comes with evidence of the contrary. That's the nature of the evil. Because our intellect develops pride and arrogance, so the intellect is never going to be able to figure it out by itself without the help of the scriptures. And likewise, and of course, they were never going to submit to the teachings of the scriptures and the guru. Never. Neither they know nor will they take the help of the scriptures and the guru why intellectual arrogance. Therefore, vimudaha. What is vimudaha?
Confused.
Confused. Good. Thank you. They all have wrong understanding and expectations. Wrong expectation is a big one, huh? Understanding and wrong expectations. And what are the wrong expectations? So this world, which is impermanent by nature, should provide me with a permanent experience of fullness, wholeness, and completion. So I want an experience that's going to set me in total happiness without any variation, without a beginning, a diminishing, and an end. So wrong expectation. Here, everything is impermanent in a flux of change, having a beginning and an end. They think that money, power, prestige, and status is something permanent. Position. My rich is permanent. People lose everything, especially when certain regimes take over, take power, like it's happening in Brazil, and they can come to the extent of even confiscate people's hard-earned money and property. So these they do not know. Therefore, they have wrong expectations. They believe that relative security is absolute security. But relative security is equal to insecurity. You can never get security from impermanence, which is changing all the time. Therefore, mogatsa, therefore they have got vain desires. We have seen it yesterday, vain actions, vain thoughts. All of that is worthless knowledge, worthless desires, and worthless actions. They will never come to understand that none of that is going to solve their problem. That the only desire that is conducive to solving the problem is the desire for moksha. And what will be their actions? So their actions also will be futile, vain. That means they will not get what they hope for. Because wrong knowledge, wrong desire, wrong actions, and then in the end, illogical expectation to get happiness from people, things, and circumstances. And what will happen then? So when they are governed by wrong desires, any amount of accomplishment will not satisfy their desires. They will only nourish more desires and convert them into greed. It's so logical. Vedanta is such a beauty because it presents a logic that helps us to understand the nature of humanity and why we are in this mess. You know? They don't get in contact with God, with the scriptures of God. They believe that the world is just like this physical, material place, and I like what I like, and I have to run to gain what I want. And more my wrong desires are, more I'm going to violate them, and I never get satisfaction. And more I violate Dharma, the more I will produce bigger and stronger wrong desires. I need, no, it's because $10 million nowadays is nothing. I have to go to 100 million. If I get 100 million, then I'm going to be peaceful, satisfied, and secured. So what happened? So these wrong desires is going to destroy the mind. The person is going to become greedy, arrogant, greedy, insensitive. And they are going to do more and more actions based on these Adamic desires for more, 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 more. And they don't understand that it's not a question of having $10 million, $100 million, or $1 billion. None of that is going to satisfy the soul. Their actions will be guided by these Adamic desires or Krodha Pradhana actions. Krodha, I forgot the meaning of Krodha here in this phrase.
I think it means delusion, no? No.
Yeah, Krodha is delusion, yeah. If I remember well. Actions based on delusion, lack of discrimination. Is that so, Lynn?
Krodha could also be anger,
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Sorry, Lynn. Sorry, Linda. Yeah.
So Rakshami and Asuri, the difference is one is Raga Pradhana and the other is Dvesha Pradhana. So actions governed by desires and aversions. So the actions governed by aversion may compel people to pay someone to kill somebody else who is being an obstacle on your accomplishment. We see it in the moves right and left, and that is a reflection of reality in our planet. When it is Raga Pradhana or Kama Pradhana actions, then they will take to illegal methods, of course, because desires, they grow, they become more and more. And when you desire so much, you can never get so much legitimately. And that's why I don't trust any multi-millionaire and much less multi-billionaires. I don't trust any one of those guys. Ah, no, but there are the less of the evils. The less of the evils is still an evil person who has concentrated so much wealth without working, just by being connected to the mafia, the political, financial mafia, and they don't share. I have no respect by these multi-billionaires. They always take to illegal methods. You cannot fulfill those desires earning money legitimately. Therefore, mind will think, why can't we adjust a little bit? Adjust means match fixing. Even though they have got a lot of money, they violate even more to get more, because in the world there is competition, and the greatest competition nowadays is to find out who is the psychopath that's going to become the first trillionaire on this planet. This greed will turn a person to immoral actions because that's called rakshasi, prakriti. So rakshi, prakriti, how you interpret this expression? Greed, svabhava, immoral activities, it's explained here. Greedy activities which are immoral and they are selfish.
I think Rakshasa is kind of like a demon.
Yeah.
So demonic nature, maybe.
Yeah, it is a demoniac nature, yeah.
Yeah.
And have you noticed that most of these demoniac entities, they, in order to avoid taxations, they start being, how you say, people who donate money to several different
Philanthropic.
philanthropy. They turn to philanthropy to clean up a little bit the image, but basically they are doing that. When the image is really messed up, and then they do that, but they are mostly avoiding some tax and trying to clean up their image, unfortunately. When I live governed by so much greed, and I find people compete with me to become the first trillionaire, and then the philosophy comes out, which philosophy? Cutthroat competition. Destroy the other people. Therefore, what started as raga will end in vesha. Kama will be converted in krodha. From selfish activities, I take to harmful activities. So raga, vesha, pradhana, karmas will destroy one's life, will dominate one's life and destroy one's life. And we have the planet whole today also in the hand of such a people, believe me or not. So what about Pancha Maha Yajana? Nothing like that in his life. Everything will go away, and therefore Nitya, Naimithika karma also will disappear. Why? Because there is no time. So forget about that. They don't even contemplate the idea of doing certain spiritual actions or religious activity. They have no time for that. Time is money, and I want to be super rich. Therefore, Raksham Simar Masurim Kaiva character of Svabhava. I forgot the meaning of Svabhava. You remember, Lynn, by the way?
It's one's character.
character. Oh yeah, character or svabhava, yeah. They take to Mohini, which will delude the people. What is Mohini?
Well, moha is delusion. I got confused earlier. So
Yeah,
mohini, yeah, delusion.
delusional actions maybe. Which means they get into vicious cycle. Yeah, it's about aviveka, delusion. Because of lack of viveka, non-discrimination, the desires, they are more and more governed by adharmic natures, kamya, nishta, karmas, actions based on strong desires for power, control, without any concern about others and the environment. Because of these desires increase, discrimination gets further compromised. Is that visual circle, So you do bad action, and that is going to raise a red flag. And then you say, nobody noticed, I did not get really caught. And then you do it again. And then you do it again. You do it again. The more you do, the more your viveka is going to be compromised. When the viveka gets further compromised or overpowered, these desires, Adamic self-centered desires, will increase even more. And when they increase again, my discrimination gets further destroyed. That's why I think these people, the so-called psychopaths, they don't have any sensitivity or empathy towards others. You understand? Other people. They have destroyed their mind in the process of violating Dharma over and over and over in order to accomplishing their goals. They keep doing more harmful actions and they destroy, finally enough, the discrimination. But the discrimination of these people that get destroyed is not the discrimination about how to gain money or how to lose money. That is a sort of discrimination, but it's bad viveka. The discrimination which is destroyed is what is Dharma? What is a Dharma? What is really conducive to peace and happiness? And what is conducive to suffering or just the loss of my empathy, which means I lost the connection with God. Therefore, I am psychopath. So that's how criminals are developed. Initially, they have a little bit of conscious, but then they start doing some terrible actions here and there, and then they repeat. They have a prick or a spike of conscious still there, but the more they do those actions, in violation, in detriment of others and the environment, the more they do that, the more that spike of conscious diminish. And then the intellect begins justifying their values. One big example is Soros, George Soros. There is a famous interview with him that's going around for 5 years, 7 years, in which the people say, they talk a little bit about his life history and the way he became a multi-billionaire. And he was doing horrible things, betraying the Jews and just make a fortune in joining with the Nazis. And he did that, and he became so powerful, so rich, and he kept on associate with greed and Adamic people. And then he became one of the richest people on the planet. And the interviewer said, but you don't have any conscience or or guilt about doing that. And he said, you know, I love making money. And if I would not have done that, some other people would do it. You see, the intellect is going to find a way to justify those terrible actions. Very common. When we compromise with values initially, there is a prick. What is the meaning of this prick there? Or prick?
It's like a little pinch.
A pinch. Okay, a pinch. A pinch of conscience. So you realize that you did something as if somebody's pinching you. Okay. Somehow you manage that second time, the prinking, the third, so on, and then comes a point that there is no prinking anymore. I begin to justify. I say that these things are required in times of war, which more or less what he did, you know. In times of war, the only thing to do is to join with the enemies and just grab as much wealth and power one can. If one has to survive, live, and prosper, one has to do these kinds of actions. And then the person destroys her connection with God in a way that is repairable, unrepairable, okay, or incorrigible. You cannot repair that. Once you destroy your empathy, your love, your connection with God, you're gonna have to come back as something else. So I'm saying better luck next birth, because you either come back as clay or you come back as a cockroach. So I'm saying there is a bit of sloka that says when the fire is burning, this is very nice. You know, there is a huge conflagration of forest fire. You find the wind becomes the friend of the fire. When the fire was a very small thing, the wind would do what? Would blow off the fire. It would be an enemy of the fire. No? So just imagine that the wind is self-conscious. And the wind says, so, I want to protect the environment. I want to protect the people living around here. The fire comes, and then I blow the fire away. But then when the fire becomes too strong, and then the wind say, no, I'm going to join force with this fire, because otherwise this fire may destroy me as the wind. Once the flame becomes a conflagration, the very same wind becomes a friend. So that's the law. If you cannot defeat the enemy, then join the enemy. Similarly, when we take to kamya, nishida, karmas initially, these rakshasic actions by nature, asuric natures, akama by nature, our Buddha can stop them. So when we, at the beginning, when we start really doing actions in opposition to Dharma, the intellect can still say, no, don't do that. It's in opposition only with me, but don't do that. Oh no, I'm not blaming you, I'm not affecting anybody because I'm just becoming a junk here. Say, don't do that. No? So value your body, your mind. So the intellect may be able to stop it. But then the intellect will begin joining and justifying those violations. And such people are called Rakshasic people and Asuric people. So all these people, the most Adamic, great people we see all over the planet nowadays, they were there among the army among the people, side by side with Duryodhana. So that takes us to the verse 13. O Arjuna, having taken to Satvic nature and having known me as the imperishable cause of all human beings, the noble souls, such as you, on the other hand, because he was talking about the avivekis, no? But having got this knowledge, having been associated with me and the scriptures, having come to know, having known me as this eternal, beyond time and space principle, as the cause of all appearance of the cosmos. So those few noble souls, such as yourself, worship me with an undistracted mind. So this is going to be the beginning of our next class tomorrow, because I still need to cook today. And I'm going to mark it here. And by the way, I was remembering that I was trying to find an analogy to describe that shift. You are the body, mind, sense complex, and you hear that you see Satchitananda Brahman, and you keep identify with your inferior nature, identify with your superior nature, and one goes like that. And then there is a moment that there is a shift of identification to one's superior nature. And then that is called doubtless atmayana, doubtless self-knowledge, of firm, full conviction in regards to what I am in reality. Okay, I was talking about finding an analogy, and I went back to the usual analogy of the awakening state, and the waker, and the dream state, and the dreamer. Suppose that a dreamer, which is very much aligned with what every human being experiences in this planet. Suppose that we are here dreaming. We are dreaming to be human beings. But suppose that that happens really in the dream state experienced by the dreamer. Okay? So the dreamer goes there, and then there he dreams that he is of the nature of Brahman. Okay? I am free. I am Brahman. I am absolutely free and independent and everything. And he has such a clarity of self-knowledge there. And then the dreamer wakes up to become the awaker. And then the awaker holds that knowledge as true knowledge, as good knowledge. And then the awaker is going to be still living as the body, mind, sense complex, but with the understanding that he is Satchitananda Brahman. The other way to look into this is, suppose that in the awakened state, I get this knowledge, and then I go to the dream state, and in the dream state, I hold this knowledge as well. Okay, and then in the dream stage, I say, I know I am Satchitananda Brahman, I am Satchitananda. It's firm, clear. And then I become the awaker. And then as the awaker, I still have the knowledge, but it's still somehow subject to some doubt and this and that. And then again, I go to the dream state. And then in the dream state, that knowledge is so firm, because that clarity and fortitude of self-knowledge, it somehow transferred itself to the dreamer as well. So we are talking about reality and dream. So we always do this comparison between the two states, awake And then we say that as real, as Brahman, we can see that we are dreaming to be the body, mind, sense complex. But, in reality, we know, because this transfer of identification took place, although I cannot have any experience as Brahman, but I know, and that knowledge is transferred to my inferior nature as the dream. So this could be transferred to the even inferior, quote unquote, nature as the dreamer, the Tajaza. It is a knowledge that somehow may benefit different aspects of us as experiencing entity. So to know I am Aham Brahmasmi, and then the way it somehow impacts positively my life as the awaker is something that is difficult to explain. Okay, because the awaker, the Brahman, Satya, is not really an experienced entity. I get this knowledge as the awaker. You understand? And how I'm going to trust this knowledge that I get as the awaker, that I am limitless Brahman? So that is the key. This knowledge must be direct, aparokshayanam, that produce a firm conviction, so that we can hold this even as the Vishwa, the awaker. Something like that. So we meet again tomorrow, same time. Okay, Ishwara, unless Ishwara decides otherwise. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks, Arjuna. Bye now.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow then. Bye now.